Hi, hi. For Song of the Day today, we're looking at La La by Ski Mask the Slump God. This was the first big single from his project Stokely, I don't know how to pronounce it, which was the first thing he released since XXX Tentacion. Why am I trying to say all these words that I can't really pronounce? You know, the rapper X died. And they were very close friends. They kind of came up together in Florida. They made a lot of their early songs together. So of course he was very distraught and broken up by that. I'm not a huge fan of X's music. I'm definitely not a fan of him as a person. But of course I'm a big Ski Mask fan, and I could always, I didn't really care that they were friends. I can't really blame him for some of his friends' shortcomings. Um, but when I first heard this song, I was both kind of moved and kind of disappointed that it seemed like to tribute X, he was kind of inheriting some of his flow and some of his style. And of course, what I mean by that is the yelling. Uh, that on the chorus, he really gets like very rough and raw, um, and it in some ways it's sort of similar to Sheck Wes, which here they even put it's an interpolation of Live Sheck Wes, which does have some of the Live Sheck Wes, Da Sheck Wes. This ain't that. It's kind of a similar cadence and flow, but I feel like the rawness that really comes through on this track, where he actually just starts like shouting into the clipping range of the microphone, is to me it seems like a very direct homage to X. Um, and I didn't really ever like that style of rapping, and it's very very far away from what I usually listen to Ski Mask for, which is like much more of the kind of like smooth, um, Busta Rhymes meets ODB kind of flow. Whereas this is the much more like staccato aggressive style. It just didn't really seem to play to his strengths. Aside from that, I was like into this song to begin with. Um, I think the way he kind of like hums into the beat, and then later kind of like hums over top of the beat is really cool. Like at the end of this verse, when he like, really starts bringing out these like sounds, it really smoothly kind of works around the beat, which is cool. Um, and his flow on stuff like this, of course, is the exact sort of thing that I really love and respect him as a rapper for. Um, but it took me a while to kind of like click on this last factor, the really X style aggressive shout rap. But I really do like I don't know. I was like listening to it again at one point, and it struck me just how hilarious this line is. Gucci on my body feel like water. I can't swim, so I bought a Gucci rubber ducky with the fins. It's like insane. That line like doesn't make any sense on the best of days. Maybe there's an explanation that makes more sense too. Not really. It's just teaching us about what Gucci is, as if we could have ever arrived at this page without knowing that. Um, I don't even think that this is true. I think it's a much more visceral thing than that. That he's probably wearing like silk shirts and maybe jewelry and stuff that feel like water, that have that feeling of like smooth coldness on his body. Um, so I don't even think he's buying a rubber ducky. I think what he's talking about is one of those floaty duck rings, with the fins, right? Like he's talking about something that's going to keep him up out of the water. Because otherwise, it doesn't really make any sense. Like the rubber ducky isn't going to help you not drown. So I was like, sorry, that was just a quick me making fun of Rap Genius. It's pretty unnecessary. But so I was like, oh, okay, this is a cool line. That's the sort of thing that I really like Ski Mask for. This kind of insane imagery. And then here, the juxtaposition between rapping about things like this, saying things like this in this insanely aggressive flow, it kind of clicked for me a little bit. I was like, oh, that's actually hilarious. That just because he's like kind of maybe inheriting in some way and wanting to tribute the sort of musical styles that X has, it's still him. It's still his personality. It's still him, his outlook and stuff. So that made me like it a little bit more. But then what I really liked was when I was a young kid at home, I was 10. So he's still doing the really shout rapping stuff. Told my dad I'm selling Molly. And then for some reason, I don't know, it doesn't explain it here or anything. It's just teaching you what MDMA is. I don't know, man. Sometimes the tone that Rap Genius is written in is just like so baffling to me. um, anyways, when he says the word Molly, they drop this like really demented vocal effect on it. It's almost like Denpa-esque. I can't really describe it too well, but it radiates a really strong, insane feeling, which I very much like. Um, I don't know. Something about that. I realized that deep down, it's still him. And I wasn't like a huge fan of this project in general. I think there's a few bangers on here, but I think it was weaker than Beware the Book of Eli. Um, but I think, you know, he's just kind of going through some things. And I feel like it would have been even more distressing and strange to me if there wasn't any sort of indication on this album that he's doing things because of his friend passing or doing things in honor of that. So what we're seeing is maybe just him working through these sort of things in his own extremely unique way, um, which I'm always going to encourage as an artist. I think any artist that has emotional turmoil, um, expressing it in a way that feels authentic to themselves, that feels like genuinely what they want to do, I'm always going to be interested in and compelled by just on the level of that narrative. And I don't know, I still have very, very high hopes for his career. It it kind of seems like maybe right now to me that he's peaked back on tracks like Baby Wipe and Catch Me Outside, some of his kind of early breakthrough bangers where he had so much to prove and he was just rapping like a maniac. Now he kind of seems to know what works in some ways. That's sort of the sense I had for a while, that he was kind of mm, playing to his strengths, almost like memeing himself up. But then when you see stuff like this, it's like no, no, no. He's not content yet. He's not um, going to just kind of ride it out yet. He really still wants to grow as an artist. He really wants to add things to his repertoire and find out new things he can do. So that to me is very promising, you know. Um, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens next. Until then, we can learn about a brief history of yelling and hip hop. Okay.